So anybody who watches my channel knows that I've got great respect and reverence, frankly, for the Lotus Sutra. And in that context, I think I made a video back in December of 2017 where probably what I did was chant the phrase Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, which of course is a phrase that reflects that deep respect for the wonderful Buddhadharma within the lotus of the wonderful law, the Buddhadharma of the Lotus Sutra. So anyhow, this particular person asked me in a comment on that particular video, he said, "Is this in any way similar to Om Mani Padme Hum?" And again, I don't know a lot about Tibetan Buddhism, but I believe that Om Mani Padme Hum is a tremendously important mantra within Tibetan Buddhism. I recall seeing a video one time of the fact that in Tibet, they write this mantra down many times on many little pieces of paper and put it inside a prayer wheel and then turn the prayer wheel. And then there's a huge prayer wheel, I think, that also contains this mantra within it. But without getting into the specifics of what that mantra means, or frankly what Nam Myoho Renge Kyo means, I think I gave a response that tries to address the general idea of the meaning of these kinds of verbal formulations, these kind of so-called mantras. So I said to the person, "This is an excellent question and not so simple." And then I said, "At the risk of stirring up a bit of controversy, which I do not like on my channel, I will answer in two ways." So I hope this doesn't rub too many people the wrong way, but I went on to say, the first would be to say that it is different than Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, in that Om Mani Padme Hum is a mantra that is recited by Buddhists in the esoteric /tantric /Tibetan tradition, while Namo Myoho Renge Kyo is recited in the Japanese Nichiren tradition. The former can be literally translated as something like "jewel in the lotus," and the latter as something like "I pay homage to the Lotus Sutra." The former brings to mind the cosmic bodhisattva of Avalokiteshvara, or Kuan Yin, who is the regarder of the cries of the world, the bodhisattva representing infinite compassion, while the latter brings to mind the profound and wonderful teachings in the Sutra on the White Lotus of the Sublime Dharma. Another example from my own Pure Land Buddhist tradition would be the recitation of the phrase Namu Amida Butsu in Japanese, which means something like, "I take refuge in Amida Buddha, the Buddha of infinite life and light." So for practitioners or devotees of a particular tradition, there is a strong emotional and meaning-based representation associated with a particular form of recitation. And we humans, I think, tend to latch on to a particular formula for our spiritual sustenance. The questions are, how important is the specific structure of the formula, and how important is the literal meaning? Some would say not very. So again, the question arises, do these different combinations of specific words and letters have absolute meaning, or are they a vehicle for expressing certain spiritual sentiments that cut across traditions? I would encourage reflection on that one. But for now, let me further complicate the matter by giving my second answer and putting forth the notion from a more mundane perspective that all these formulae, which can be termed mantras, are a way to facilitate a meditative experience. In essence, meditation involves either emptying the mind of thought by, for example, focusing on the breath, or filling it with chosen thoughts, that is, a so-called mantra. Then, whenever you become lost in preoccupation with the surface chatter of the mind, or when some other sensation or experience becomes so strong that you find it difficult to remain attentive to the breath or to your mantra, which is inevitable, one notes this and reestablishes attention on the breath or on the mantra. Now, in this context, would we say that Om Mani Padme Hum, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, and Namo Amida Buddha are the same or different? Now, to come back round to a framework of simplicity, I would echo what Shinran said when he asserted that he simply followed what his teacher Honen recommended, which was to say Namo Amida Butsu and be saved. My bottom line is that I think the nature of the cosmic Buddha is such that he or she will accept any one of these formulations if recited with humility and a sense of true entrusting in the other power of his or her compassionate grace. Those are just some thoughts that I had at the time in response to that query. Within Shin Buddhism, we view Namo Amida Butsu as being a phrase, a name, the power of which, as we recite it with faith and with an entrusting mind, is imbued by virtue of literally the virtue associated with Dharmakara's practices, that he conducted these practices, these bodhisattva practices, for eons and eons. He accumulated all this virtue, and he packaged it, if you will, in this succinct phrase so as to be able to communicate it to us and endow to us as a gift through Shinjin, through entrusting, this essential quality that allows us to feel embraced and to give us a sense of assurance that we would be reborn in a less problematical existence, in fact, in an ideal existence in his pure land at the moment of death. Some would say, such as the sixth patriarch Hui Neng, that pure land can be even experienced in this life, in the here and now. And whether that is through the expression of Namo Amida Butsu, or through meditation on Amida, perhaps that's a sense in which the parallel that I'm drawing between these mantras or phrases and a meditative state may have relevance. I don't know. But I do think that there's a tendency within religious traditions, within spiritual paths, to want to increasingly over the course of time simplify the practice and simplify the essence of the nature of the teaching that will result in an opportunity by ordinary people to attain a level of spiritual satisfaction and comfort, in contrast to the kind of ordinary state that we're in, where we experience all this suffering associated with the three poisons of greed, anger, and ignorance. So, I go back, I guess, again to Shinran, where in the Tani Show, which was written by Yenbo, one of his disciples, who essentially quoted him as saying that, in effect, and this is a paraphrase, that if what Sakyamuni Buddha preached was true, and if all the various patriarchs on down the line communicated a similar type of message about the nature of truth and the nature of practice and the nature of salvation on up to his teacher, which was Honen, and if what Honen said was true, then the Nembutsu must be true. In other words, we must have that opportunity to be embraced, never to be forsaken, to be saved from this world of suffering through the recitation of the Nembutsu. And Shinran acknowledged that he was ignorant about the validity of Honen's assertion. In other words, he acknowledged that, it might be the formula for sending him to hell. But he had this level of humility that's just staggering, where he indicated that, look, if that's the case, he's doomed anyway, because he's not going to be able to fulfill these self-power kinds of practices associated with the Bodhisattva path. And I feel the same way. I mean, I tried it. I can't do it. And so, again, I rely on Namo Amida Butsu. Now, do I think that somebody that relies on Om Mani Padme Hum is any less likely to go to a pure land, to attain some kind of relief from suffering, or Namo Myoho Renge Kyo? I think it's inconceivable to me that there would be only one set of words. And I'll close by saying this. When I first got into this study of Mahayana Buddhism, and in particular into the devotional kind of aspect. And we can think of there being three kinds of approaches, I suppose. The sort of the study, the practice of moral kinds of activities, and then devotion. Devotion is kind of a third methodology, if you will, a third broad level means to make progress on the path. So anyhow, when I first got into a devotional orientation, the first mantra that I used was Nama Tathagata. I would say Nama Tathagata. Of course, Tathagata is the Buddha. Of course, now I know it's pronounced Tathagata, or at least that's how I pronounce it now. But at that time, all I knew was what I was reading, and so I said Nama Tathagata. And then I think I went to something like Nama Amida Buddha, and then Namo Amida Buddha. And now I know that sometimes within Shin circles we say Namandaba, Namandab, 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 Namandab. The way I say it at the end of my videos is just what is most comfortable to me. And I'll close with that phrase, which is Namo Amida Buddha, Namo Amida Buddha, Namo Amida Buddha.